Mic is on. Excellent. Welcome to Occam's Razor. My name is Jill, and this is Blazing Cat for Fridays, where we do a cold read through of the best news aggregate for an unobscured eye on current events. I'd like to thank Blazing Cat for posting these live streams and for his tireless commitment to publishing his site every day coming up on 20 years in February. Please support his site. We are streaming on three. No, wait, we're only streaming on two platforms today. For some reason, I have an issue with X, so we'll get that fixed by next week. Sorry about that, folks. So please give us a like, thumbs up, follow, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. The chat is up across the two platforms, YouTube and Rumble. So please feel free to ask anything. Comments drive the algorithm when I'm not driving it down with my forbidden words. So if you're watching this on repeat, please leave us a comment down below. This veteran appreciates your support, so please visit my other channels. We have Occam's Razor Gardening, Cooking, and Canning, and we have, of course, our Occam's Razor. And then starting tomorrow will probably be another channel, but it will be another show. We'll give you a quick preview on that startup at the end of this half hour cold read through of Blazing Cat Fur. And after this show, please join us at 10:30 for the nap, the no answer period, where we cover the question period, prefaced as usual by all the evil that has beset our lands and all the other stuff. Some, of course, we also cover what's been happening in Parliament the day before. It's been quite a session this week. And yesterday, I don't think the Parliament had the Liberal side, they just didn't have any oomph anymore. They all looked like their dog died. They just didn't have the same energy. They all had low T. But anyways, let's get to Blazing Cat Fur and get straight to the website. Let's do that now. There we go. Mic is still on. And we will do a quick refresh on the site, because this is a cold read through and I have not gone to look at his site. Oh, there we are, right at the top. Excellent. We won't click on that. Now, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Up into Toronto, Canada's biggest city, has become an unaffordable cesspool of crime, chaos, and disorder. In my new video, I break down Toronto's shocking decline and every crisis fueling its fall with the help of Zivo Adam. Link below. Ooh, there's a source from the CBC. Let's see if this, it's a 2-minute video. Let's bring that up to
People duck and take cover as three masked men burst in and open fire at a busy pub on its opening night.
Then, out of nowhere, a big push, sending the victim onto the tracks.
The rash of carjackings has some drivers around Toronto on edge.
What happened to Toronto? Canada's largest city was once a great place to live, but it has since become a cesspool of crime, chaos, and disorder.
There was pandemonium on busy Queen Street East at Carlaw over the noon hour Friday. People scrambling for cover after someone pulled out a gun and began shooting.
Shootings, carjackings, robberies, they've all become the norm. Drug use has become rampant, and the city's parks have been taken over by homeless encampments.
The park has been completely taken over by tents, lean-tos. They even have chairs and places to sit in outside their tent.
Toronto is now among the most expensive cities in North America, and for the absurd cost of living there, residents get rampant crime, crumbling infrastructure, as well as a mayor, Olivia Chow, who seems more preoccupied with dancing into the night than addressing the many crises our city is facing. Hi, I'm Ellie, and I've been involved in Canadian politics for almost a decade, and for the past 5 years, I've covered it as a journalist with some of the country's top independent outlets. And after spending the last week analyzing Toronto's downfall, looking at crime data, reading multiple stories, and speaking to a prominent journalist who grew up and lives in the city, I discovered things that I did not expect. It turns out the situation in Toronto is worse than I thought, and that it didn't get this bad by accident. In this video, I'll show you just how much Toronto has fallen, and I'll expose those who are responsible for its decline.
Well, we're not surprised, really, are we? Oh, let's fix the screen here. There we go. We called it. I'm pretty sure Blazing Catford called it too. Well, I was writing under a different moniker back then, but Marxism always brings this kind of decline. right? Because as you slowly tear away all the systems in your society that were established there by the existing economy, which is based on people actually producing stuff and doing things on their own. And as you slowly replace that with centralized government, well, you take away the reason for people to do stuff. And you also purposefully manage a decline of the country in order to bring about more violence so that you can bring in authoritarian rule. That's what's happened to this large city in Canada and what is happening across Canada and all kinds of places. This was all done on purpose. We saw it coming, but nobody would listen. They would just call us conspiracy theorists. And of course, the problem with conspiracies is they always come true. President Trump says he'll permanently pause migration from all third world countries. Oh, no wonder the liberals on that side of the house have been losing their brains when it comes to anyone in Canada raising any issue about migration as well, on how poorly the Liberals have handled that migration file. If you look at the comments, nobody's blaming any of the migrants, right? They are blaming the policy that has been completely destroyed by the Liberal Party. And of course, anybody that says about anything about that, well, Steve McKinnon, the House Party leader for the Liberals, he's just out there going, MAGA this and MAGA that and blah, 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 because they got nothing else. President Trump said late Thursday that he intends to permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. to fully recover in a Thanksgiving Truth Social post. Even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many, Trump wrote late Thursday night. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe, Otto Penn, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States. There you go. Remember, Ellis Island, we used to vet all the migrants coming through into the United States. First, they left them there so they wouldn't bring any diseases onto the mainland. And once they were cleared medically, they were allowed in. But there was also a huge vetting process. Canada used to have a vetting process for migrants as well, so that they wouldn't all become a drain on society. But all those levers were changed when the Liberals came into power. And just this year, we've had another million over 1 million people allowed into the country, and all of them, they're getting close to what, 80 grand a year in benefits, while our own citizens starve and die on the streets. Of course, this is building up some kind of animosity towards the people who have created this policy, not against the migrants. President Trump has announced tonight that he will permanently pause third world migration cancel, says Wall Street Mav here on this copy of a post, which I believe probably from Truth Social. And what's and policy say down here? They have no business being in Western civilization. None. And then tags Blazing Cat for here, which is his handle on X at Fancy Pants, because for some reason, Blazing Cat for handle got kiboshed uh, because obviously he's too popular during the COVIDity stupidity, and it has not come back. Yes, I guess none of us who've asked Elon to do something about bringing back his account have actually enough followers to have any pull. So sorry, BCF, we still can't get your old handle back. But in the meantime, what's Andy No saying here? In April, another Afghan migrant was moved into the U.S. with his family, launched a shooting attack on police in Fairfax, Virginia. He made anti-white statements and said he wished he had helped the Taliban. He shot two officers before being shot dead. Wow. Yeah, and there's a reason why you vet your migrants when they come into Canada. Do they share a semblance of your values? Are they willing to accept your values? But that's the problem with Canada. We don't seem to have any values other than whatever the Liberals dictate are our values to this day. They've been bringing that up in Parliament recently as well. They've been talking about our Canadian values. I believe that when they say that, they actually mean Brookfield values. Oops, sorry about that. But where's going on? Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Seems to be a lot of that today. Report Sikh Indian man thought his right to pray in Canada usurped his criminal record. Well, uh, when you sell that your country Canada, why the liberals doing this, is a country based on feelings. So we will accommodate your feelings, and if anybody offends your feelings, we will say that they are wrong so that we can accommodate your feelings until, of course, it hits reality like this. But when he was denied access to the country, he called the CBS official a discriminatory racist and threatened legal action. Worse, worse. That's all they could do because they got nothing. Let's see what he says.
Is criminal.
No.
So this is discrimination.
No. So
For United States people of America,
okay.
This is discrimination,
well,
sir.
after you replay the video to your lawyer, and your lawyer sees that we're working off evidence and facts. So when we run your name in our Canadian databases, you have a record. And when we take the evidence from your record and we equate it to Canadian criminal law, you're inadmissible to Canada. So you can interpret that however you want. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, ethnicity, religion, anything. We're making that decision based off an equation of your record in our systems and Canadian criminal law. So however you would like to interpret it, that's up to you.
You can give me time because I can told the Ranjit Singh if he have attorney. So because you take my all the information, my friend information, my godfather information, you don't take even my information. You take everybody information.
No, we have your information. Your passport's right.
No, but you take my godfather information, Ranjit Singh information.
All right, that's enough of that. These poor fellas. Well, it's their job. That's what they joined. That's what they joined for. BC coastal First Nations vow oil pipeline to North Coast will never happen. Oh, yes, yeah, of course. So a lot of talk about this in Parliament. A couple of videos on my channel about this. Actually, my latest ORNAP supplement. No, sorry, not supplement. The actual Occam's Razor no answer period intro, which was posted up early this morning. Near the end of it, you can see the whole exchange back and forth, and pretty well, it's anybody who studied history. I don't know if they still teach history in Canada. Do they still teach the British North America Act to students in history in high school? I have no idea. I know it's a lot of cultural Marxism because they all seem to come out believing in the climate cult ideology. But right there in the BNA, it's that hasn't changed. Basically, giving the power to the federal government to do these kinds of things, regardless of how these people act. And it's just strange, too. Just before I come online, there was a post by someone online saying, "Oh, I don't like how our economy is based on pulling shit out of the ground." My God, man, what do you think things are made from? From our food to every single thing is processed out of what we cultivate out of the ground. I hate to tell them, but the only thing that unicorn parts can manufacture is their own climate cult ideology. So what are they saying? The president of the coastal First Nations in British Columbia said Wednesday an oil pipeline to the province's north coast will never happen and slammed Ottawa for negotiating with Alberta on a possible pipeline deal without involving First Nations. Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to unveil details of memorandum of understanding with the Alberta government and a pipeline project while in Calgary on Thursday. And then Carney is counting on this. Well, this MOU, this memorandum of understanding, all it does basically is guarantee that Alberta must increase their industrial carbon tax in order to get a pipeline. Yes, that's right. We promise to give you a pipeline if you increase your industrial carbon tax. Now, I guess Alberta lost its ruling at the higher courts that now they have to acquiesce to the misery and death tax of the climate cult ideology by taxing everything for because plant food is bad, I guess. Oh yeah, and they have to capture their plant food and put it on the ground as part of all this investment. But anyway, as part of all this stuff, they got to increase the carbon taxes from what is it, 90 to 170 or 140 per pound, dollars per pound. It's or ton. And anyway, it doesn't matter because they want to increase it 6 times. 600% increase on the current carbon tax. It's bad enough that our current carbon taxes are killing business and investment, which is just fleeing the country. But the other nations are all getting rid of this climate scam BS. Just like Bill Gates said, yeah, you know what? I think this has run its course. I don't think we can do anything, which is why Carney ended up in Canada to capture the government and force our treasury to invest in his climate schemes while everyone else is divesting because they know it's just a bloody scam. So on the backs of this, of course, you got all the other green meanies getting on board, but all the green meanies are fighting against each other in the parliament as well. The Bloc is losing its mind, the Bloc Québécois, because they're all full of green cultists as well. They goes, oh, you promised a pipeline, of course, and that is creating division within the political party of the Liberals. Right. So we had Guilbeault leave today. No big surprise. That was all manufactured. He just got his federal pension, so he wasn't going to stick around anyway. But that's great because that was the distraction. That was a manufactured dissent, pretty well, as Ezra Levant pointed out, just to again distract little don't watch what's happening with this hand here while I'm doing something else with this hand here. So all they've done is guaranteed that there will be more taxes before we can get a pipeline. After 10 years of not doing pipelines, after 10 years of actually destroying an existing pipeline project that private investment was paying for, and then we ended up taking it over, and then citizens got on the hook for paying what, 3, 4, 5 times the original cost of what the industry was actually going to pay for. And then, of course, the Liberals celebrated that lack of success by calling it success. Oh, look, we built a pipeline. No, you idiots. It was already taken care of. Then you f***ed it up like you do everything else. Council sacks tree surgeon who put up union flags. Oh my God, this is where Canada's headed, by the way. Bill C9 is going to give us the same kind of BS that's happening right here, where they have over 30,000 people that have been arrested or given non-hate crime incident reports to making them criminals for posting hurty words online. And of course, Bill C9 will allow arrest without warrant, putting hurty words online. So if you raise your Canadian flag and it offends somebody, well, that's hurty. And then of course they'll show up on your door. Goes, you offended somebody. Well, I say Canada's great, and that's why I raised my flag. But it's that's self immolation of their own society. This suicidal empathy of hating yourself so much that you can't allow your own nation's flags up. If you have a problem with the flag of the nation flying on a flagpole, that nation that you're in, maybe you shouldn't be in that country. If it offends you, leave. Parish Council has canceled its £9,000 contract with a tree surgeon after he put up Union flags in St. George crosses. Billy Crotney from Wimpole in Cambridgeshire hung about 300 flags on lampposts near the town of Royston, Hertfordshire. This tree surgeon business had been working with Steeple Morden Parish Council for more than a decade and had been commissioned to remove conifers. Yes, if you're not, and this is again, political prisoners. That is the last grasp of the dying cultural Marxism, right? Is now is that they have to defer to their own state to arrest people, which is what they've been doing. And then, of course, their next step after that is violence, right? That's their last step. That's the only thing they have left. Borg. Lame duck Liberal MPs looking for international positions with cabinet shuffle coming. Of course, they're all going to get their presence. And will the press cover this? Okay, so Guilbeault quit today. Let's see how many days the is it QCGI, Equality Canadian Journalism Organization funded media over that story. Right, so they covered the floor crossing during the budget week all week long. Instead of covering the budget, they covered D'Entremont crossing the floor from the Conservatives over to the Liberals. Full freaking week, every freaking day. Oh, Lord, the Conservatives. So now here we have Guilbeault leaving. Do you think they're going to talk about it for a week? No, 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 of course not, because they're controlled by this liberal balloon. Nice picture, BCF. With a Liberal cabinet shuffle looming over the sitting MPs, several of Trudeau's old guard are looking for a new cushy position in an ambassador or figurehead role to fall back on after they're ousted. Ousted, that's right. Oh, they don't like what Carney's doing. Maybe they just don't like what he's doing because he's enriching himself and his friends at Brookfield. It's the kind of behavior Canadians have come to expect from this government when the public mood sours and the polls tighten. The Liberals don't roll up their sleeves They roll out their existing strategy. That's right. They always return to the same well to come back with the same messages over and over again till those messages don't resonate. So they pivot to a new message, but it's always based on the same thing, creating fear in order to manipulate people's emotions. And just like that, that's how they destroy the economy by making people distracted through fear. Jeff Ross, conservatives must cull bureaucracy to save Canada from progressive rot. Oh, have we not seen that so much in committee recently, where the bureaucrats have said that, oh, yeah, we don't even look at an entire Stellantis multi-billion dollar contract as a whole. We don't let our legal department do that. In fact, we don't even let our deputy ministers, incoming deputy ministers, replace the last minister to look at the whole contract so they know what they're in for. Yeah, imagine that. Private industry, if they had $1 billion contract, you don't think that they would have their legal team comb over every word, every comma, every period in a legal contract? But no, the government's like, well, it's not our money. We don't care. Yeah, we screwed that up. Sorry, we made a contract that Jean-Philippe Champagne, our current finance minister, put a signature on. Right back then, he was the one. He was part of that creation of that contract. He signed that bloody thing. It's not just Melanie Jolie, who's also going to be one of these people that they're shuffling off. But you talk to these bureaucrats, and they're like, they're not doing any studies on how these government policies that they've been instructed to push are actually going to impact Canadians. None at all. They don't care. No, it's yeah, we have this review portion after we roll it out, we're going to talk to people and oh yeah, I know like you guys have given us a lot of feedback and we'll take that into consideration after we roll out the policy, after we destroy people's lives with their policies, and then we'll confirm, we'll say we're sorry, and then until the news cycle runs out, and then we'll just carry on with our insane green policies that will destroy everybody's lives. So that rot, along with DEI, oh, yeah. So we have three levels of government across Canada, a ratio of 2 to 1. Two government workers for every one private sector worker. That's unsustainable. That's how a country collapses. This is what tells me how close we are to a financial depression. With every day, as more companies close and jobs leave because of an economy that is hostile to private investment and is only accepting of new businesses that conform to the DEI philosophy, to the green scam ideology, and that therefore then they're allowed to actually have business. We've seen how they've done this in media, right? The QCJO, the Quality Canadian Journalism Organization, media out there, they're what, close to 30 grand per every person working in those industries, subsidized by your Canadian dollars, so that they can control your minds and tell you what to do and tell you what to think. Wait, this wasn't like this before. Canada was not like this before, subsidizing media until the Liberals came in. Don't forget, in 2019, they changed the law that said that if the media lied, they could be held to account. And then they changed that law allowing the media to lie in 2019 without any repercussions. And then they made them part of the government control. And who do you think controls that media? Who do you think filters out all these messages to it? That's done through this bureaucracy. Many Canadian conservatives speak of Edmund Burke as they would have their first love. Their tributes are fond and wistful, from Reagan-esque peons to talk of common sense and gradual change. Our intellectual and political right still speaks like it lives in a cohesive, recognizable country that treasures inherent norms and trusted institutions. And here BCF says, won't happen under the Liberals. Carney's cut talk has been scaled back. Our civil service at all levels of government are a reliable Liberal left vote bloc. Indeed, they are. In fact, you can see it in their attitudes in committee. There was one committee I was watching, and they didn't bring the documents. And committee's like, we told you to bring these documents. They've been ordered by Parliament. Oh well, we kind of decided maybe you'd think that there's private stuff in there that you shouldn't have access to, and it's not right. It was like, hang on, it says you don't get to decide, bureaucrats. We as elected parliamentarians get to decide. We want to see those documents. You don't get to hide them from the people that pay you. That's how they are. That's how they've been acting in in committee. It's absolutely disgusting. No wonder when the SDTC documentation and the Greens Cam Fund and that fake passport app that didn't work, how they got away with this. Oh, there's been so much money laundered and stolen from Canada, billions, billions. And it's going on right now. Going on right now. Why the seditious six should be prosecuted swiftly for urging a military rebellion. Oh, yes, it's just been on the periphery. I've been so involved with Canadian politics, I haven't been paying too much attention to what's been happening south of the border. On Monday, the Department of War announced its commencement of an investigation into Senator Kelly, a Democrat from Arizona, for potential violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice related to his participation in Democrats' seditious disobey unlawful orders video. This is absolutely the right approach, and the move is helpful contrast to the mixed bag Rep. Michael McCall of Republican Texas offered this past Sunday on ABC's This Week. Indeed, that's right. I would always say same message to my brethren in the Canadian Armed Forces. Don't disobey your lawful orders. Just quit. You don't need to disobey. You just say I quit. That's your only viable option to disagreeing with a lawful order. And I don't join the Canadian Armed Forces. Is all I'm saying right now. That the place is a bloody mess, and morale is sucking the big toe, as they say. How sick is the American left? Well, this sick. Leftists are so sick that when two National Guardsmen are shot by an Afghan welcome into the U.S. by Biden, they blame President Trump for having deployed the Guard to D.C. for badly needed crime abatement. Said deployment worked marvelously. Murders, robberies, carjackings, etc. dropped massively, but our left is doing everything in its well-financed power to see Trump run out of office by any means necessary. Leftists are not bothered by the escalating crime. Can we say pull a revolution? Yes, that money that's funding the left is slowly running out. Hopefully, it continues to run out, and they want the insanity to continue on their streets because that's how the left maintains its control. Ridiculous, ridiculous argument like this to make your point. It was the guardsman's fault for being there. That's because they don't believe in law and order. They only believe in authoritarian control. Mark Carney must reveal cost of his industrial carbon tax. Hmm, exactly. That's right. And it's not just the actual cost, it's the impact on the social cost. I was just talking about Prime Minister Mark Carney needs to inform Canadians of the cost to them of his proposed industrial carbon tax. Right, the tax that taxes everything at the base. The federal budget is approximately 500 pages long, but doesn't specify the cost of the industrial carbon tax. Oh, isn't that funny? Yeah, they're slippery like that. Liberals have been very good at changing and implementing rules and regulations and legislations, and certain decisions that departments have been making, you can't track down who actually made the decision. You just get a post on a website saying this is what you follow. People start following it, and then they're like, "Who authorized this? Who signed this?" Oh, we don't know. And right now, I'm talking about the COVID-19 vaccine. Yes, that's right. On there, so Tamara Ugolini, national treasure, go over to Rebel News. She did a story on this. We don't know who authorized that. It's not just in that department. This kind of fuckery is going on in every department. Gene editing of unborn, a terrifying new biotech frontier. My God, have we learned nothing? I know what it is. There's not enough people watching Star Trek. That's what it is. Anybody who knows anything about, um, right, the bioengineered human beings and how they all went psycho, it's not just that. There's been a lot of other science fiction stories about the pitfalls of genetic manipulation, humanity, outside the norms. It's It's crazy. The founder of ChatGPT, Sam Altman, has joined a clutch of tech billionaires contributing to $30 million funding a biotechnology business called Preventin, which aims to correct devastating genetic conditions for future children. The U.S. company has plans to edit the DNA of babies before they are born, a process known as human germline genetic engineering, which is banned in 70 countries. Preventin is seeking a country which will give it permission to carry out its experiments. No doubt the New Zealand gene technology bill, currently awaiting a second reading, which will liberalize decisions about gene technology experiments and place them in the hands of a single regulator, will have brought New Zealand to the attention of Prevention. Yes, genetically modified human beings. What can go wrong? What could go wrong? Oh my God. Just people just don't read. Housing migrants in military bases ignores the real root of public anger. Let's see. For the third weekend in a row, hundreds of residents in the East Sussex town of Crowborough have protested against the government's plan to house asylum seekers at a military site. It is no surprise that a Home Office's plan announced in October have provoked such a fierce backlash. According to the BBC, up to 540 single male asylum seekers are to be housed at an army training camp on the outskirts of this small town. At last Sunday's demonstration, protesters chanted, "Crowborough says no," and "Protect our community." They also wore individual numbers, each number representing one of the migrants soon to arrive. Yes, people need to organize, people need to protect, because obviously the government is not protecting them. In fact, the government in the UK is even going after its soldiers who perform their duty in Ireland after so many years, bring them up against international courts and tribunals. And of course, the military is losing its mind in the UK, saying, "What the is going on?" But you, and if, yes, so it's not just in the UK. I mean, like what they did to the military in Canada as well. But of course, they haven't tried to bring anyone in the military up for international crimes for doing their duty overseas and killing the enemy or performing their military duties. Terry Newman, a terrorism expert, has a stark warning for Canada. Oh yeah, it's a good picture, BCF. It really brings it home. Muslims desecrate public spaces with death cult rituals. Yes, and the cops allow this traffic to be blocked. And if anybody says anything about it, the cops are ready to pounce on them. And once Bill C-9 passes, arrest without warrant. Anti-Israel demonstration and mass street prayers are about conquering the streets, says Benny Sabti. This something's very, very dangerous. Yes, Iranian-born Israeli terrorism expert Benny Sabti says the persistent presence of anti-Israeli Hamas supporters in Canadian streets, their intimidation of Christians through mass prayers outside of churches, and their open threats to media, independent media, very well known and documented, are well known forms of Islamist aggression. According to the Sabti, Canada should be concerned about the possibility of its own October 7. Hey, if only Canada had people sounding the alarm on Islamist bullcrap all these years. Indeed. Indeed, BCF. I wonder who's been saying anything about that for the past 20 years? Anybody? Hero fighter who allowed colleagues to use the term fireman after woman complained, loses unfair dismissal case. Oh my God. A senior firefighter who was disciplined our female colleague was subject to a long-standing campaign of offensive comments by bosses, has lost an unfair dismissal case. Simon Bailey, who was previously praised for his bravery, was issued written warning on July 2023 at tribunal after he oversaw an openly sexist workplace environment, which included failing to challenge staff who used the term fireman instead of firefighter. 27-year veteran in the Avon Somerset Fire Service was disciplined after his colleague Shasha Atchison complained about the behavior of her peers in 2021. Well, let's see if Sacha Henderson can carry a fully grown man out of a window, down a ladder from a burning building as effectively as senior firefighter here, Simon Bailey, can. Good luck being rescued by your fire department for allowing this DI wokery to occur. And we have come to the end of the page, and we are 6 minutes over a half hour of the stream. Pretty good, pretty good, given how I've been jabbering a bit too long. All right, thank you all for coming out. Like, share, subscribe. We will go on our way out. I'm going to show you a quick outro of an upcoming new show that'll be out tomorrow. We'll probably do 2 episodes tomorrow because I was supposed to do the first episode last Saturday, but I was just got too involved in making too many different versions of this intro. So this is just one of like 16 different versions that'll be cycled through as we do the show. And what is the show about? Well, Here we go. And then after this little intro, we'll go straight to our outro for BCF, and we will see you next week on Blazing Cat Fur Fridays. Bye-bye.
Working.
I am programmed to destroy those life forms which are imperfect. Non sequitur. Your facts are uncoordinated.